Hey, Emily. How are you doing? My daughter. My daughter, who I cherish more than any other. So, um, today is the 29th of August, 2019. And um, I arose this morning committed to a decision to move to Goleta, California, which is just, well, it's essentially a city outside of Santa Barbara. Um, I'm really excited about it. I think it has a lot of potential, and but what it'll mean is I'll be somewhat further away from you, and I think our relationship can handle the distance. And you know, I think what's important is a focus on what we have in here. Um, And I will continue to communicate with you on a regular basis using videos and text messages and letters. And I will also continue to request time to visit with you and make those requests to both you and your mom. And, you know, in a way, I think of it as a this little change as being minor and not very consequential. And so I'm really I think that the foundation of our relationship is very, very strong, and this minor change, I think, is not a big deal. But I did want to mention it because, well, it's something that's on my mind. It's pretty exciting, and I'm encouraged about how things are falling together. So, with that out of the way, let's see what else is interesting and going on in my life. Um, Golly, what could I say? Um, I'm really enjoying being healthy and strong. I know that you're in track and field, that you are enthusiastic about running, and I want to encourage you in that endeavor. Running is a wonderful way to live your life as a human being. To be a runner is wonderful. I think there's some kind of naturalness. There's like this unique, it's almost running and walking are like the essence of being human. It's sort of like fish swimming. It's like birds flying, you know? For a human being to walk and run is like, I don't know, it's really important to our physiology, to the maintenance of our strength, to the maintenance of our not only our muscle tissue but our bone tissues as well. Um, it's important for our bones to have those stresses and impacts so that the cartilage and our bone can form in an optimal way. And I am real. I'm really excited about running. Yesterday, I ran 52 minutes on the treadmill, which is a moderate amount. It's almost an hour, and I'm so well trained that it didn't have any impact on me necessarily. It's not a new impact. Um, it's something I enjoy. Running is something I participate in regularly. Today, we've got the luxury of technology like treadmills with cushioned surfaces which protect your joints. And they also have like emergency functions on board that help you in case you trip or fall. handrails on either side of the treadmill, keep you stable in case you lose your balance a little bit. And then there are measuring devices, right? Speed, distance. You can even watch TV on some screens as you're running on the treadmill and listening. You could listen to music. Boy, I tell you, it really is a wonderful practice. I think it's a practice as vital to human self care as, say, similar practices like yoga or meditation. There's something about being human which almost requires that you manage and maintain, your physical strength. And running is a great way to do that. And anyway, I want to encourage you to continue running if that's something that you're doing, and which I believe it is. I love it. I love the strength and the power that I receive after a bout of exercise, of running exercise. Um, I especially feel that energy 3 or 4 days after the exercise. Usually about 4 days after the exercise, I'm buzzing along. My legs are feeling strong, my spine upright, and the extra strength sort of folds into additional confidence in my day. It gives me energy to radiate joy and a positive attitude. Without running, I don't think I would have that, or at least I wouldn't have it in as great a measure. And, you know, running truly is a wonderful thing. And here's another thing, there are subtle benefits that you receive from exercise that I think most don't recognize. Um, I think we've all heard about the benefits to one's blood chemistry, like triglyceride levels being lower or cholesterol levels being lower, or say glucose levels being lower. There are other benefits, and I think they have to do with the brain. I have heard, and this is only what I'm recollecting in the moment, that when a body is fully energized with exercise, that the brain is, it generates neurotransmitters, plenty of neurotransmitters. And the brain is just loving the exercise. And it's this sort of the supply. There's this optimal supply of neurotransmitters really helps one's thinking process. It helps one sleep better. It helps a person's focus. And it also, in my view, helps a person's mood. Yeah, there's something really energizing about exercise and running in particular. I like running a lot because although it is not truly a full body exercise, it is very close to a full body exercise. Um, Interestingly, it's also an exercise that develops coordination between the left and right sides. There's like a fluidity of motion and balance. Yeah. So I can imagine when one runs, that inner ear is active. Um, it's you're navigating through time and space, moving your body around. Even your proprioception, I think, is improved. Proprioception is your awareness of where your body is in space without visual cues. So if you close your eyes, proprioception is that feeling you get when you know that your hands are in front of you, when you know what position your fingers are in. See, these are Spock symbols here. from Star Trek. Uh, I know my fingers are in this position because of proprioception. There are nerves which are sort of responding and reacting to the position of my fingers, and my brain receives this information, and I can track the movements of my arms and hands with my eyes closed without needing any visual cues at all. So there are a lot of what I'm describing are what I'd call subtle benefits to running that are, often overlooked. Of course, any exercise is beneficial. If you if a person decides to swim, that's great, or to row, again, wonderful, or just to do weights, fantastic. Um, there are also a lot of unconventional exercises out there. I won't go into them. But even things such as jumping rope or doing hula hoop or even dancing, those are a lot of ways of using your body that can result in a lot of lifelong improvements. Yeah. One thing is true about the human body, you use it or you lose it. you know, we're continually, as human beings, we're continually fighting entropy, right? The deterioration or the disorganization of energy and matter. That arrow of time and the direction of entropy are continuous. Thankfully, we have energy sources like the sun, which help us at least temporarily counteract these forces of disorder. Exercise is just a really great way to sort of manage entropy and the eventual deterioration of um, one's life. Yeah, the order of one's life. So anyway, one thing I'm noticing is that I am kind of serious this morning. I don't know. Have you noticed that? What's up with that? That's something new. I'm not sure why that is. Um, anyway, I just wanted to pass along the idea about how important exercise is. And in a way, there are two things about life. There's training of your body, and then there's the education of your mind. That is the training of your mind. Gym for the body, books for the soul. I kind of like that phrase because it's so poetic. Gym for the body, books for the soul. I heard that phrase a long time ago, believe it or not. Uh, and I think it was a reality television show, and it was, Jersey Shore. It was an MTV reality show that is music television, reality show called Jersey Shore. And there was this guy who said, I think he said, gym for the body, books for the mind, or something like that. And man, I'll tell you, that really stuck with me for some reason. I love this whole idea of like brain training and body training. I think it's really apt. Human beings, we just kind of need to continuously develop and grow. Here's the thing: human beings, we're responsive to our environment, right? And so, in order to be sufficiently responsive, we need to continuously be, calibrating, right? Calibrating with our social environment, our economic environment, our physical environment. We're continuously calibrating. We're figuring out, what are the optimal behaviors in this environment? And, I accept that it's a trial and error type process. We select out, we identify certain concepts, priorities, values that we want to conserve or enhance or gain or keep in order to keep us going. We need that churn. There's something about this learning churn that has to be continual. Growth must be a priority in order for a person to be sufficiently responsive to their environment. Now, one thing you might know about me, but might not know about me, is I think one of my more significant personality traits, and I'll tell it to you. This personality trait has been responsible for more success in my life than maybe any other. I'm about to drop a gold nugget of wisdom. Here we go. So, and it's a personality trait that I happened on almost by accident. But here it is. The personality trait is responsiveness. I don't know what it is about responsiveness, but responsiveness is one of my most dominant personality traits. And everyone has their degree of responsiveness. You know, if comatose people are on the far end of the scale of the responsiveness continuum, they're essentially not responsive. They're alive, their brain is working, and they're not responsive. Now, on the other end of the scale are people who are instantly responsive, right? I don't know. I'm not one of those people. I mean, I'm not instantly responsive. In fact, I'm not really sure what that even means or if I've even met someone that is that responsive. But I'm on this end of the scale in terms of responsiveness. I am, and in order to be responsive to your environment, you have to recognize that there's this feedback loop, right? And the question is, what is the frequency of that feedback loop? How often are you doing reality checking and responding to that environment? How often are you making adjustments as you're going through that loop? And also, what subject areas are you focusing on in that feedback loop? I think there are probably aspects of my environment that I don't have really strong feedback loops on, and I'm not that responsive. But a good part of my life, I really do have a really strong feedback loop where I'm continuously checking. And, as a human being, we naturally do this. We're always asking ourselves, what's going on? What's next? What's happening? We're trying to figure out the story, right? We're writing the story as we're living life moment by moment. And that's what it is to be alive. And of course, responding to our environment also is how we stay alive. But, it's more than just being alive. Responsiveness is key. It's about acknowledgement of your external reality. It's about living life according to your values. It's also about recognition. You can be responsive to other people, and you can not tell them about it. I think it is best quite often to tell them about it and get acknowledgement and sort of express yourself that way. Let other people know what's going on with you. How you're moving through the world. What is on your radar screen. It's not only is it the polite thing to do, but it's quite often the responsible thing to do. And anyway, I know, Emily, you're responsive. You must be responsive to your environment. But I want I guess during this discussion, I really wanted to emphasize how important responsiveness was for social relationships, work relationships, how responsiveness is important to your health. There are a lot of people who are obese in the world today. And that really is, in a lot of ways, um, poor responsiveness to their physical condition, right? There's some kind of breakdown in responsiveness in the case where people are obese, right? And it persists long term. Same is true for, say, diabetics who don't control their blood sugar. You know, how responsive is the diabetic to their blood sugar amounts? Um, how many times are they checking their blood sugars during the day? And, you know, are they injecting insulin on a schedule that helps them manage their blood sugar? In a way, for a lot of people, responsiveness is a life or death situation. Other examples relate to, say, people who are allergic to, say, bee stings, right? Um, you know, a rapid response to a bee sting in a person who is allergic to bee stings is a benefit, right? It's kind of funny. Anyway, I would just want to pass along this idea about how important being responsive to your environment is. Being responsive to your environment will make you a good student. It'll make you a good worker. It'll also make you very healthy. Part of the reason I'm as healthy as I am is I'm very much a high self-regulator, and I'm very responsive. And there's probably overlap in those two virtues. And, a lot of that has to do with pursuing your goals, being courageous enough to pursue them, to take steps to manage and measure, particularly to measure, to maintain, to take note of, and to continuously develop better methods for managing the situation. This I'm a very high self-regulated person. I'm continuously responding to changes in my environment. And I'm also continually measuring. That's how I'm able to make my responses. That because I've got they're like thresholds. When a certain value sort of reaches one threshold or another, then action is taken to make changes. And I don't know. For some reason, it comes easy to me. It's natural. It's part of my makeup. It's part of my personality. And it's not a part of everybody's personality. There are a lot of people who persist in obesity continuously for decades and decades and take no action. They adapt. That's kind of interesting. There's a part of me that is somewhat rigid. I sometimes I describe myself as a person who is a creature of habit, and I think that's really true. I have habits that are tightly sort of integrated into my behaviors, and I admit I don't like to change very much. I like my habits to be the same. In fact, here's the thing. I've been an engineer for 23 years. I've lived in this apartment for a long, long time, like 5 years already. I can't believe how time has passed. Um, when I get into a groove, I like it. I stay in it. I've got a car, a minivan that I purchased, maybe 4 years ago, and I have no intention to ever sell it. uh, uh, until it breaks down or I totally wear it out, until I have to replace it. I won't replace it until I have to replace it, because why is that? I don't know. I grow accustomed to a certain environment or a certain something, and I seek to maintain it. I accept that that is a kind of rigidity. I think it's also a choiceful rigidity, because I think I'm also aware that at any moment I could decide not to have a minivan, at least not the one that I've got. You know, life is wonderful in that we have the freedom to choose what to pay attention to, what values we want to optimize or maximize. You know, life is good in that way. It's also risky. Yeah. Life is like this combination of attachment and unattachment. It's like, and really, you sort of have to choose what to attach to and what to unattach to. And it's not always easy about the decision isn't always easy. I think it's important though to commit to either attachment or unattachment. It's important either way. I think committing is important, establishing a value and deciding upon it. You know, it's really easy to sort of, I don't know. Now I'm getting really into high level abstraction. Maybe I need to talk about a few concretes so I can engage you more in our conversation. What is Miguel talking about, Emily is saying? I don't know. It's your dad. He's more of a philosopher than anything, right? Yeah. Speaking of philosophy, I need to learn more about philosophy. I know. So let's continue this conversation with a question. If you could play any instrument, what would you choose and why? Well, if I could play any instrument. Well, if I could play any instrument, I think it would have to satisfy a few criteria. Here it is. Are you ready? Number one, I want to be able to sing while playing it. I'm serious. That sounds like really basic rule, but it's an important rule. Like I could do piano or guitar or anything, but I don't think I'd like to learn any musical instrument that I could not sing while playing it. For example, I'm not into the trumpet or the trombone. Come on, or the flute or the clarinet. You can't sing along while you're making music. Come on. Singing is half the fun, right? So, yeah, I would definitely, and even drums. I'd be more than happy to learn to play drums if I could sing while playing it. Okay, so that's criteria number one. Criterion number two is I'd like to be able to dance while playing. Of course. What a wonderful thing to be able to move your body while playing another instrument. Totally. So that's I guess a second criterion. There's a third criterion. What? Okay, are you ready? The third criterion is portability. Man, if I have an instrument, it's a grand piano. That's just not going to work. Even if I can sing and dance while playing it, I want to be able to move around. So those are my criteria for any musical instrument that I devote myself to playing. I have to be able to sing, dance, and it has to be able to be portable. Yeah, easily portable, right? I'm wondering to myself if there are any electronic musical instruments. Yeah, sure there are. You know, I've got a wonderful iPad Pro, and I have a feeling that there are digital instruments that I could buy, synthesizers, things like that. What do they call those pads that touch pads that help you compose music? Pretty soon, everything is going to be digital. I know. I know. Everything's going to be electronic. We're not quite there yet, but we're going to get there real quick. I have a feeling that there are going to be new instruments developed that take advantage of what is it, virtual reality, or what is it, augmented reality? Is that AR? Where you're able to interact with what I'd call as digital images um, in your environment. Yeah, I definitely think that I can imagine totally brand new instruments arising as a result of, I think Microsoft has a like augmented reality um, device. Yeah, I can just totally see an infinite number of musical instruments that are electronically based, that are AR. Yeah, definitely looking to play them. I'm sure they already exist, even though I don't know about them. I'm sure they already exist because it's within the realms of modern current tech. I'm sure some bright guys or bright gals already figured it out, even though I may not know about it. Here's the fact, Em. I don't know everything. I struggle just as you do. I think I might struggle a little less because I've got more experience in the world. And as a result, I have more resources to draw upon, emotional, physical, cognitive resources. And I also know who to ask. I have a good sense of who to ask questions of and where to find my answers. And that's a real benefit. I get that. I get those benefits as a result of how old I am. And you will receive those gifts too in time. It just takes a little bit of time. I want to acknowledge the fact that I am just so fortunate. I'm just awestruck at how fortunate I am. What is going down in my life right now is nothing short of wild, wild success. I know. I hope I continue this string of successes for a long time in the future. Um, Human beings eventually decline. For some reason, the things that have been going on in my life have been continuously improving. Yeah. So I'm grateful for all the amazing successes in my life. What makes it possible? Well, you know, the resources of our planet, the resource of other people, of teams who are cooperating in our economic system. I don't know. So many amazing benefits today. Emily, I really uh, am happy that you are as young as you are. Your life is going to be, in my view, a factor of 2 or 3 times more enjoyable and stimulating than mine ever was. And I'm so glad that that's the case. Let me tell you something right now. Your dad is an extremely successful person. He just is. He's devastatingly handsome. um, I- how do I explain it? How do I explain my awesome success? My incredibly good looks? I don't know. It's a combination of genetics and environment. Yeah. Anyway, I'm glad that that's the case. Maybe to some extent, I can act as a model for you. Sure, why not? I am your dad after all. And anyway, so let's move on to the next question. If you could talk with only one person for the rest of your life, who would it be and why? What's funny about that question is I think that's already the case. That's happening right now. If I could talk with only one person for the rest of your life, the fact is, in my view, that you are always only talking to one person. You're always only talking to yourself. Now, and what I mean by that is that when I receive inputs from other people, right, really those inputs are going into my ear and they're being translated or interpreted by my own mind. It's my own mind. In a way, conversations with other people are just conversations with myself because it's me who's creating the meaning from the input, right? There's stimulus. But it really is all me. I'm the meaning maker. I'm the meaning maker. And I make meaning. I make whatever's coming into my field of view. I am creating the meaning of it. And so in a way, I am the only conversation maker. I'm the conversation maker. I'm the conversation starter. I'm there from the beginning to the end of every conversation. I'm interpreting every one. And so, yeah, I'm definitely only conversing with myself all the time. It's just that social conventions suggest that there are other people. Yeah. Oh, let me talk about Hume. Are you interested in the philosopher Hume? Let me suggest, Emily, that you do some reading about a philosopher who I admire very much. Hume has forwarded, or at least popularized, this wonderful view about how everything is perception. And I think he's correct. And Hume is an English philosopher. I forget when he lived, a couple hundred years ago. Very famous, very highly regarded philosopher in Western philosophy. And you know, even today, few hundred years later, I'm still not able to get around the everything is subjective, everything is perception type thinking, because It's so on point. I really do think that that is the case, that everything is a projection and that we're continuously projecting onto our external environment. There's nothing wrong with that. It just happens to be the case. It's just a natural part of being a human being. And this dream that we all have, that there are objective objects that are true no matter what one's perspective. I think in a limited way that is true. I mean, after all, I'm a scientist and I believe in objective reality, because it's, at least at the time, right now, quite useful. It's how things work, right? We're talking about Newton's laws and um, the laws of gravity. Yeah, it's all about living in this mechanical universe and how to make the best of it efficiently, effectively. So yeah, I do believe in an objective reality. As But there's another aspect to that. It's very real, and that perceptions dominate the scene. You know. Anyway, I'm getting really philosophical. I'm going to try to stay away from that. Let's move on to the next question. So, actually, the first question is fine. If you could talk with only one person for the rest of your life, who would it be and why? So, my question is, I would talk to myself, and I'm continuously doing it right now. But I'm going to legit directly ask the question as it was intended to be answered. So, one person for the rest of my life. Who would that be? One person for the rest of my life. Golly. One person for the rest of my life. Well, I'm not sure how to answer that question. Well, I know how to answer that question. I just don't know what answer to provide to the question. What one person? Talk with only one person for the rest of my life? I'm having a hard time just getting my mind around that question. One person for the rest of my life? Okay. I have no idea. I could talk to only one person for the rest of my life. I don't think that question has a good answer. On the one hand, it could just be any person at all. But on the other hand, I'd want to talk to an interesting person, one who is responsive to me, one who could engage in good conversation, one who was interested in me, certainly. I don't know. It's kind of funny how I'm leaning toward talking about or using a famous person as an answer, but I'm not sure if that's necessarily a good idea. I'm not sure that I really want to talk to a famous person for the rest of my life. I don't know. I don't think I have an answer to that question. What's the next question? If you could visit with any person in history, who would it be and why? That's a good question. I think I might have answered variations on this question. Well, there are a few people who I'd love to visit with. Number one, Socrates. Absolutely. I'd love to talk to Socrates, Plato. Oh, yeah. I'd love to talk to Michelangelo. Oh, yeah. Leonardo da Vinci. Absolutely. Ooh, one of my heroes, Galileo. I would love to speak with him. What a fascinating life. If I could visit with any person in history, well, I'd be interested in visiting with, who would really be interesting to visit with? Edison. Oh man, I'd love to hang out with Edison. Oh yeah, that's the guy that you want to talk to. Um, I wonder if there are any famous women that I'd like to talk to. Totally, totally. I don't know. If you could visit with any person in history, who would it be and why? Well, let's talk about Edison and how fun I think that would be. What I like about Edison is this boundless creativity, this amazing resilience in the face of difficulty, you know, challenge. I really admire what he did. How many patents did his office have? Jeez, so many. Everything from this microphone to the computer, camera, in a way, this is all Edison's work. The lights, the LED lights. I know I've got uh, fluorescent lights over here. And, these are not Edison lights with the tungsten filament, but really those tungsten lights had to happen first before LED lights and fluorescent lights came into being. Yeah, so he really was the grandfather of it all. This recorded sound. I mean, I don't know how he did it. Amazing, amazing. In a way, he was committed to research and development, right? He was committed. What was Edison committed to? Well, first of all, I think he was committed to the trial and error process. And I think he had a certain set of values. What could they have been? You know, a sort of a focus on advancing technology. I think if there was a book, like a biography that I'd like to read, I'd like to read one about Edison because I would like to sort of get some understanding about what he was doing. What drove him, and how did he think the way he did? What was it that made him so successful? Yeah. Okay. If you could do something very daring without fear, what would you do? Oh my gosh. Very daring without fear. Golly. If I could do something very daring, well, okay, here's one of the things that I could probably possibly do very daring. I would get my PhD in psychology, clinical psychology. That's daring. I wish I could do it. It's kind of funny. That possibility is actually open to me now. I mentioned earlier that I was going to be traveling to Goleta. I think I'm going to be living in or near Isla Vista, which is the community where the University of California, Santa Barbara is. And I am aware that UCSB has a psychology doctoral program. But here's the thing. I'm not sure that it's highly focused on clinical psychology. It is, but I think that it's more focused on child development, or something about counseling children, less about clinical psychology. Yeah, I don't think that the PhD program, I wonder if is it an APA certified PhD program? I'll have to check. I would certainly hope that it is. You know, maybe that's what I should do. Maybe I should get my PhD in clinical psychology while I'm down in Goleta. You know what? Maybe that's a smart thing to do. I hadn't necessarily put those two things together. Me moving to Goleta and me getting a PhD. I could do it. Even if it takes 10 years for me to get a PhD, it would be in clinical psychology. It'd probably be worth it. That's my passion. I'm not going to become a psychiatrist because I'm not going to go to medical school. And I think my interest isn't necessarily in particularly medicine as it relates to the brain. I think my interest is more in um, studies about personality. Yeah. So I think I'm going to look into it. I might very well seek out my PhD in clinical psychology. Why would I do it, you might ask? I'll tell you why. It's not because of financial reward. I know. It's because I have a deep, stunningly deep interest in the brain, in how it operates on the level of personality and mood. Yeah. And memory. Yeah. And you know what? I'm 100% focused on that area. I mean, it's all I think about all the time. So why not get a PhD in it? I could also probably do some counseling as part of a pastime. I don't know. Maybe that's what I need to do. That's where my brain is taking me. Maybe that's where my brain is taking my brain. My brain is on this journey of self-discovery, and it's dragging me along, shouting and screaming, right? This brain, it's untamed. No, it is actually quite tame. It's just something that's really interesting to me. And looks like I'm going to be close to an institution which can provide me some guidance. And, I think I'm going to have enough money soon to make it happen. And even I might even have some time. It's really, time is the ultimate resource. Hey, I'm going to be alive for another 40 years, girl. I'm just 47 years old right now, 48 years old right now. I think I'm probably going to make it to age 90. I know. That's hubris. I don't know, maybe not. I think I could possibly do it. In 20, 30 years, cancer will be cured, Alzheimer's will be cured, diabetes will be cured. I really think that that's going to happen. With on a global scale, with artificial intelligence and all the scientists and engineers from all the countries like China and India, we've got a billion engineers, a billion doctors working on these problems, and there's a very good chance I'll live to 90 years old, I think. So long as I don't get into any accident. So long as I don't get into a car accident. Yeah. It's funny. Well, I just want to say thank you for spending some time with me this morning. and allowing me to get these ideas off my chest. Um, Thank you for being patient enough, being present enough to sort of take in and just acknowledge what's going on with me. I want you to know that, as my daughter, I love you deeply and that I'm absolutely committed to our relationship. And I also want you to know that I unconditionally love you. What that means to me is that, despite your behavior, I will continue to offer you or to have a sense of goodwill. My goodwill toward you will never end. It's a decision I'm making. And with that is a commitment to my time, my energy, my creativity, my support. That is guaranteed. And as much as I'd like you to take advantage of this resource that is in front of you, I recognize that that it's up to you, right? This is your choice. It's about how you live your life. And I'll do my best to make myself available. And I'll do my best to regularly remind you that I'm present and that I can be a resource. And I'll do my best to remind you about what my capabilities are and how we can work together in partnership to make each of our lives better. Yeah, I'm here for you. And I'm absolutely committed to supporting you if and when you need it, and supporting you in the way that you'll accept it to the best of my ability. I can't do better than my ability to act. Anyway, girl, I hope you have a wonderful school day today. I hope you're enjoying your senior year so far. One of these days, I'm going to get to reading Charles Dickens' Great Expectations. I just haven't done it yet, but I'll get to it, and I'll report back to you about what I think about the story. I love you very much, girl. My beloved Emily Claire Trujillo McFarland. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.